Yesterday, something incredibly unusual happened in America's Ascension. Because Envy played against Stellae Gaming, and it was 2-1, but map 3 was a 13-0 in Envy's favor, as you can see just there. But then, there was another game played right after it. It was this game, Winthrop versus 9Z. And map 1 of that was also a 13-0. There was back-to-back 13-0s in America's Ascension. But the way that it happened as well, and what I'm going to show you in these two videos that I'm going to do today and tomorrow, is how different 13-0s can be sometimes. Because our first 13-0 was pure domination, a slapdown, a beatdown. The second 13-0 that you'll see tomorrow was a bit more of a crazy glue fest. But today we are going to talk about Envy against Stellae. And, well, we have to talk about the comps, right? Because here's the comp that Envy are playing, which is a very Envy, rankers kind of comp. Extra's playing Yoru, they're playing Cypher, they're playing Clove. Very much a comp from their wheelhouse. The thing is, they're playing against a comp which, on the attack side, if you do not have very good plans, and you maybe aren't playing the best individually either, this comp is ripe for getting 13-0'd when you have to start attack side on bind. That's just the way it is, right? Because if your Yoru isn't being set up properly, you don't have any Viper to potentially create pressure on the other side of the map, you're going to run into a lot of what we see in this round, which is a lot of Cypher setups here over towards the A side that give them, very good info of what's going on down here, whereas normally they wouldn't. It's going to be a long day, and it is right here. But actually, first off, we're going to take a look at Extra and his Yoru, because we see here some of the value that he's able to get and some of his understanding as well, right? So he starts off, gets marked there, to actually takes the TP, comes across the map, but he has a TP back into spawn, right? So this is just like, rule number 1 of Yoru being good is he's taking this TP. They know that the Yoru is out here, but the thing is he could still be here, right? He still is creating a big threat here for his opponents because, well, yeah, it's a Yoru. He could have TP'd away anywhere, but he might also be out in this spot, right? So you see that it's a threat. It's a constant threat. He could be anywhere, right? But now I want you to watch as the time is ticking down. And essentially, we've gone 40 seconds and the attackers have basically done nothing at this point. Just watch Extra here because he's actually just waiting, right? He's actually he understands that at this point, his teammates really haven't really heard anything around the map. So he doesn't think that a hit is coming anytime soon. So he actually just sits here, waits to then put his TP out at the minute mark, so that then he's suspecting that at a certain point they will have to start revealing their hand, and then if he needs to, he can then TP across to B if that is where, he thinks that that's going to end up. So he doesn't want this second TP to expire, which means that at this point, we're basically playing 3 people on both sides of the map. They're obviously getting good information here from the Cypher out towards A, right? We haven't seen anything out towards that part. We're now going to start to get some contact, but the problem for our attacking team here is that they don't have any Yoru TPs. So when you look at this map just here, they're just going to have to run through this, and it doesn't go very well.
Well, here they walk. Poppin considering, but yeah, instead it'll be the double flash. That's beautiful swinging from Poppin.
1 enemy remaining.
And yes, they make it look incredibly easy there, right? And there's multiple reasons for this. I think what they're trying to do here, Stellae, is they're trying to, maybe create some pressure over here, right? With the Vice, they're trying to maybe make some noise over here, but they don't destroy any of the Cypher setups, so that doesn't really work. So you do still get the 3 players over here. As you can see, we don't have anyone coming in through Hookah. This is kind of just going to be a late TP across instead. And now, because you have no Yoru TP into the site, these guys are just going to have to run through a Viper wall into 3 players, and there's no pressure coming from the other side, right? A little heads up, which again is like cardinal sin for this comp, right? The great part of playing Yoru in a double duelist comp is that you can, have kind of your Yoru just go across the map and send TPs backwards and TP backwards if you need to, right? And have a bit more of a free roll, essentially. But when you're playing solo Yoru on attack, a lot of the time, you actually need those TPs to come into sites. You can't just be sending them off in safe areas, which is what they did in this round, because it means that you have to run through this. Just blindly going through. And against any team who knows anything about Valorant, good luck doing that. So if you are, by the way, find yourself in this scenario where, we don't have any duelist and we're going towards B on bind, my suggestion suggestion to you is that you probably have to try and take both lanes if possible. And you will see here that it does not go so well for them. But if you are just going to try and force it through, little tip for our Brimstone here, why do you still have this smoke? You need to smoke this off. You cannot just be doing the 2 smokes here when we've got no one in here and no info of what's in there. Now, they don't even really need the Viper here, Envy, because it's so easy to deal with, because they can just create, you know, multiple angles here between the Sky and the Yoru, and these guys don't know which way to look and just end up dying and popping hit some nice shots. So they don't even need the Viper. The Viper even misses the snake bite. None of it matters, though. None of it matters because we just had no chance based off the plan that we did. And oh, by the way, that was a bonus round. And sometimes I feel sorry for coaching staffs, because let's take a look at the start of round number 5, because sometimes your players just decide to troll you. And this is a great example of that.
They burn all that time, and then when it actually comes down to the engagement, they're down time and down resources to try and push through.
Well, they'll toss a little bit of a grab net here to try and get a trap going, but Kane is mobile, active.
Okay, so if you're the coach here, you're probably losing your mind somewhat, because like this is just playing on autopilot, right? This is just absolutely like, okay, flash, haunt, normal stuff, get shot. Okay, they're actually going to throw a grav net in here. You'll see it land towards this Yoru just there, right? All util here makes sense. But when they shoot this haunt, you can't just approach this like, oh, he's definitely trapped in the grav net, and he's probably, you know, thrown his mouse away as well, right? He's probably just he's probably, you know, DC'd, and so I can just run up here and just get a free kill. Like what? Look, he just runs in. Just actually, so right, they shoot the haunt. Let's approach with some caution. You know, I'm going on my own and just literally just running in. I'm like, again, if you're a coach, like, what do you do when your players are just like playing on autopilot, thinking that all of their util is perfect, and you know, there's no way they could have avoided, you know, there's nothing they can do against that grav net. They can't, there definitely can't be a second player there. That's not allowed. Like, what do you do against this? Let's just run in dry against the AIM team. Against the team known for their aim and ranked playstyle. Let's just play ranked against them. I don't know, like, in fact, let's not play Radiant ranked, though. Let's play Gold level ranked against them. Okay, now let's skip ahead to round number 7, and in this one, crucial round where they're gonna go for a fast, big ult play.
So, Stellae Gaming, that's gonna be 3 ultimates online. My eyes are going to be on the Annihilation from Dizora. Has to be huge to be able to win this round.
It's found Ion. It seems like they're really trying to trap it. No, they'll go for the orbital strike on top of the grab net. That will be the first frag going Stellae's way. And they've got to amp up the gas from here, but the stack is ready for him. Envy, Poppin and Inspire have their cubbies, and the refrags. Poppin from the garden gets 3! And hasn't even used the birds yet. Now he has. Dog to confirm Seeduzoid's position. Inspire pokes out, instantly defeated. Maybe take another second here. Seeduzord has the nightfall now and catches Eggster, who's just gonna stick the sight line down. Seeduzord pops out, grants the intel. Eggster, the decay is fading. The chances are waning. Seeduzord will re-up on intel. Haunt, and Eggster continues to stick it until the poke out. Seeduzord searching, finding the swing. Eggster.
So Seeduzord there on the fade actually has, you know, a pretty nice try there at the end of this round. And actually this round starts off pretty well, right? So there's nothing really wrong with what they do at the start. You know, you get the fade horn out here. You're going to Yoru ult the other side. The team is going to follow the Yoru ult in behind. Like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with this. I do think in general they probably could use with the second player with this fade, because I do think this fade is in a pretty tough spot. Because sometimes the reaction to this Yoru is coming this way is that people might push out, and so he has to be kind of pretty scared, and you'll see that he does end up, you know, playing this pretty passively. So maybe if you were, you know, theorizing this, maybe you would bring a second player this way as well, and then you just have a bit more pinch potential on anyone in here, essentially. But the first part of this, right, the Brim ult part of it, the deadlock, you know, Gravnet, they see this Viper, get the Gravnet off, get the Brim ult off, right? Good, really good stuff. There is a couple details here that, from this point, I think our Yoru from this point needs to go one of 2 directions, right? Either you got to secure the rest of the site and see what's going on over here, or you got to help off fade out and, you know, get at least a little peek of what's going on over here, right? Those are kind of your 2 options. He instead goes for the third way, which is this way, which isn't really helping us at all. right? You're not helping your fade out here. You're not helping these guys kind of know that the rest of this is open. So you'll just see it on the map now. He just kind of ends up going into elbow and, kind of not really putting himself in a place where he can help impact the round. But okay, the Brimble goes off, you get this kill. Now, Inspire also does a really good job here in terms of just like recognizing this straight away and just getting on his bike, right? So if you just watch the round here, you see he's actually already rotating, it looks like, towards heaven. So that is kind of, maybe helping him a little bit. But he gets there so fast that he actually wins them the round, right? Because the thing is, it's basically a race between Inspire here and the Deadlock wall, right? So at this point, this Deadlock has either got an ult, probably, maybe, or get this wall out, like, as soon as possible. There's a little bit of a delay from the Deadlock here in terms of the wall going out. You'll see, like, this little, like, looking around, kind of, what are we doing? Like, that bit of delay just gives him enough time to actually get back in onto the site here and get ahead of, the Deadlock Gravnet and the Thorns, right? So probably both the Vice and the Deadlock are a little slow here to react to this, and Inspire does a good job of getting here, because if Inspire isn't here, they probably win this round. But he does manage to get here, and you can see that they're clearly not expecting anyone to have been able to flood back in, because instantly, they turn their attention this way. You see that everyone from this team is kind of looking this way. But this is where maybe as well, see, look at our fade here, right? If this fade has someone to kind of hold their hand, maybe we're, starting to scale up here. Right, maybe we're actually like fully pinching on these guys rather than you just kind of being sat back here, waiting to see what's going on. So again, you can see like there are layers to this, but really it does come down to Inspire, because again, if Inspire isn't here, they do kill Kane on the Clove, so there is still danger there if Inspire doesn't get in, but he does a good job, and obviously we see the 1v1 eventually play out in MV's favor. Okay, now let's take a look at round number 12. And look, I know it's 11-0 at this point, and obviously you're probably pretty tilted and things, haven't gone very well at this point at all. But at the same time, you've got a Yoru ult and a Vice ult, and not using them in this kind of spot, both of those players are going to die without using their ults. That's just kind of inexcusable.
Stellae creeping up. TP from Kane's Zera. That boy is fearless. Pop in, coming out with the bird. Almost an easy two-piece, but Zord can stabilize. But Kane still this ever-present threat with the TP, so Tisora has to have his back turned. And Stellae have to have their resources split onto a site that's been fully stacked by Envy. They know it so well. Nightfall on should get all the tracking they need. Exter still gets one on the way down. Now it's Inspire's turn to swing with Ion's help, and they clear out.
So, okay, the Yoru ends up dying to kind of this Sky pop flash play. Maybe this one is a, a bit more excusable, but obviously it's not great. But they do go 1 for 1. They end up picking up the Fade ult here as well. But you just see, like, when you're playing, like, and you have no dive here, even with a Fade ult, like, getting through this and getting through this Viper wall, it is just tough, right? Having to jump down here, it's tough, right? You're gonna eventually run into, multiple people coming in here. Envy, again, because there's no Viper wall or threat of this lurk on the other side, and they've actually pushed out this round. They know that it has to be a B hit, so you see that, like, everyone from Envy is already here by the time they're doing the exec. So they're just in a very bad spot. We don't use the Vice ult here. The Viper just ends up coming out of the smoke and getting a free kill. It's just a very tough spot to put yourself in from the very start, and it was a bit of a beatdown, and eventually would end 13-0.
From short, though, and they're going to try and go for the crunch onto the showers. He explodes out, but the rest of Envy has taken course. And SW has to clutch up a 1v2 with just one smoke in the tank after all is said and done. And the bird has caught him in the back. Envy's 2-stack is confident as ever to let Poppin take the long road up the elbow, and SW doing the rest of the manual clearing, giving away the noise. Is it just Poppin? No. Misses that head top, and SW is quick to Ion first.
Nice try, kid.
Could they get on the board here? Poppin, waiting, wondering, leaving him to guess. SW will stick to half without taking a bit of damage, and he's just gonna use his head.